Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something really serious, antifreeze poisoning. It's actually one of the most common ways small animals get poisoned,
Yeah,
tragically.
it really is. And our goal today for you listening is to cut right to the chase. We want to give you the absolute essential facts, the danger, the signs, and crucially, what you must do because time is everything here.
Okay, so let's identify the main culprit. We're talking about antifreeze with ethylene glycol, or EG. And the danger often starts so simply, doesn't it? Like just a little puddle.
Exactly. That's usually how it happens. A car leaks, maybe just a few drips from the radiator, or someone disposes of it carelessly. And the scary part is this stuff, EG, it tastes sweet. So cats, well, dogs and kids too, frankly, might just lap it up.
Huh, sweet tasting. That's particularly nasty.
It is, and it doesn't take much, especially for a cat, to be a fatal dose. It's just so accessible, often right there on the driveway or garage floor.
Okay, so it gets ingested. What happens next? How does it actually do the damage inside the body? Where does it hit first?
Well, ethylene glycol acts fast. It primarily goes after two main areas, the brain and the kidneys. The first hit is neurological. It affects the central nervous system pretty quickly. That's the sort of the acute phase.
Right. And you said fast. How fast are we talking? When do signs start showing up?
It really depends on how much they drink, but you could see signs anywhere from, say, 30 minutes, maybe up to 12 hours later.
30 minutes. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So if you even suspect they got into it, you absolutely cannot wait and say every single minute counts.
But what are those early signs? What should people be looking for?
Well, you might see things like depression, maybe vomiting, but one of the most distinctive signs early on is a real lack of coordination. They look kind of drunk.
Drunk, like wobbly and unsteady.
Exactly. They might stumble, bump into things. It's often called a drunken gait.
That sounds like something someone might mistake for, I don't know, a minor injury or just being tired, especially with cats.
That's the danger. People see that unsteadiness and think, oh, maybe they just bumped their head or something less urgent. But if there's any chance of antifreeze exposure, that wobbly gait is a huge red flag. You have to assume the worst.
And if it's a larger dose, or things progress.
Then it gets worse. You might see tremors, shaking, and then potentially full-blown seizures.
This sounds incredibly severe. How quickly can it actually turn fatal from just these initial effects?
In the worst case, yeah, if they ingested a significant amount of EG, the cat can fall into a coma and, well, die within just hours, purely from that acute neurological damage.
Hours. Okay.
So it's an immediate crisis. But that's really only the first part of the problem.
Right. You mentioned it hits the brain and kidneys. So if the cat somehow gets through that initial neurological phase.
This is the really cruel part. Sometimes after those first neurological signs seem to fade a bit, the cat might actually look like it's improving. Owners might think, okay, phew, crisis averted.
A false sense of security.
Totally, because internally something else is happening. The body is metabolizing that ethylene glycol, breaking it down into extremely toxic byproducts. The main one is oxalic acid.
Oxalic acid. And what's that doing?
Think of it like tiny, sharp crystals. These toxic byproducts head straight for the kidneys. There, they form calcium oxalate crystals, which basically shred the delicate kidney tubules.
Oh, wow. So it destroys the kidneys.
Catastrophically.
Yeah.
And irreversibly. So cats that survive the initial sort of drunken phase often develop severe acute kidney failure about 1 to 3 days later.
1 to 3 days later.
Yeah. And even if they get treatment at that stage, the prognosis is very guarded. Death is unfortunately really common once the kidneys fail like that.
Okay, this is incredibly serious. Immediate brain issues, delayed fatal kidney failure. Let's get to the absolute must-do steps. Someone sees their cat lick antifreeze, or even just suspects it. What is the very first thing they need to do right now?
Action. Immediate action. Two critical things, and the order matters. First, if possible, and only under veterinary guidance, induce vomiting. Get the poison out. But second, and this is non-negotiable, get the cat to the veterinarian. Immediately.
Immediately. Like drop everything and go.
Drop everything. Don't call first to ask if you should come in. Just go. You can call them while you're on the way. There's absolutely no waiting. Every minute that EG stays in the system, more of it gets turned into those kidney-killing acids.
Okay, about inducing vomiting, you said under veterinary advice. People shouldn't just try anything at home.
Definitely not. Trying things like salt water can be dangerous itself. The best plan is get in the car, start driving to the vet or emergency clinic, and then call them. If they advise trying something specific and safe while you're en route, follow their exact instructions. But don't let trying to induce vomiting at home delay getting to the clinic. Speed is paramount.
Got it. So the cat arrives at the clinic. What does the veterinary team do? What's the life-saving treatment?
Okay, so once they're there, it's intensive care. They'll immediately start IV fluids, lots of fluids. That helps support the kidneys, flush out toxins, and keep the cat hydrated. But the real key, the specific antidote, is ethanol therapy.
Ethanol, like alcohol. Explain that.
Yeah.
How does giving alcohol help with antifreeze poisoning? That sounds counterintuitive.
It does, but it's fascinating science. See, the ethylene glycol itself isn't the primary killer. It's those metabolites, the oxalic acid, that wreck the kidneys. The body uses a specific enzyme, alcohol dehydrogenase, to break down the EG into those toxins.
Okay.
Ethanol works by basically tricking that enzyme. It's called competitive inhibition. The enzyme prefers to grab onto ethanol instead of ethylene glycol. So if you give ethanol, the enzyme gets busy processing the ethanol.
Leaving the ethylene glycol alone.
Exactly. It prevents the metabolism of EG into the dangerous acids. The intact, unmetabolized EG can then be filtered out by the kidneys and excreted before it gets turned into poison. It essentially buys critical time.
That's brilliant. So the ethanol acts like a decoy.
Precisely. It's a chemical decoy. This usually means the cat needs to be hospitalized for several days on continuous IV fluids and receiving careful doses of ethanol, likely in an intensive care unit.
And are there other advanced options?
For very severe cases, especially if kidney damage is already suspected, some large specialty or referral hospitals might offer dialysis, similar to human kidney treatment, to try and filter the blood. But the key is really fast intervention with fluids and ethanol.
It makes sense. Okay, prevention is obviously critical here. This isn't just a pet thing either, right? Kids are at risk too.
Absolutely. Ethylene glycol poisoning happens in children too, for the same reason that sweet taste.
So what are the non-negotiable prevention steps at home?
Vigilance. Number 1. Keep all antifreeze containers sealed tightly. Store them high up or ideally in locked cabinets, away from pets and kids.
Okay.
Number 2. Be incredibly careful when handling it. If you're flushing a radiator or topping up fluid, keep pets far away and clean up every single drop of any spill immediately. Use lots of water to dilute and wash it away thoroughly. Don't just wipe it up.
Right, even a small lick can be fatal for a cat.
Exactly. And number 3, dispose of used antifreeze properly. Don't just pour it down the drain or leave it in an open pan in the garage. Take it to a designated hazardous waste disposal site. Leaving it accessible is just asking for trouble.
Okay, now let's touch on those safer alternatives we sometimes see marketed. Products using propylene glycol, or PG, instead of EG.
Yes, that's the other main type you'll find now, propylene glycol-based antifreeze. And this is where things can get confusing for consumers.
How so?
Well, propylene glycol has been labeled by the FDA as generally recognized as safe, GRAS.
GRAs. Okay, so if the FDA says it's generally safe, isn't that the answer then? Just use PG antifreeze.
That's the trap. That GRAS status applies primarily to its use in small amounts as a food additive for humans. It absolutely does not mean it's safe for pets, especially cats, to just drink freely.
Oh, okay. Important distinction.
They're very important. We need to be crystal clear. Cats should not consume propylene glycol either. Any spill needs to be treated as a potential hazard and cleaned up immediately.
But is the outcome different if a cat does ingest PG antifreeze compared to the deadly EG?
Yes, and this is a really key difference. Ingesting propylene glycol can still cause problems. It can lead to those same initial neurological signs, the lack of coordination, the wobbliness, maybe even seizures, similar to the first phase of EG poisoning.
So still serious neurological signs.
Still serious, yes, and it absolutely requires immediate veterinary attention to manage those symptoms. However, and this is the critical part, propylene glycol is metabolized differently. It is unlikely to cause that devastating, delayed, fatal kidney failure that we see with ethylene glycol.
Okay, so still bad, still needs a vet trip right away, but not usually the fatal kidney outcome.
Generally, yes. The prognosis is much, much better than with EG. It's still an emergency, but typically not a fatal one if treated promptly.
That really highlights why knowing what kind of antifreeze you have is so important.
It's huge.
All right, let's pull this all together. The critical takeaways for you, the listener. What are the absolute must-remember points from this deep dive?
Okay, 3 big things. First, that time window. If you suspect EG, think 30 minutes, act immediately, don't wait.
Second, the dual danger. Remember, the initial drunkenness can be misleading because the really deadly part, the kidney failure, happens 1 to 3 days later.
And third, the action plan. Get veterinary advice on inducing vomiting while you are rushing to the clinic. The core treatments are IV fluids and that crucial ethanol therapy, the decoy that stops the poison from forming.
And thinking about that difference between the deadly EG, with its high fatality rate, and the less severe, though still serious, PG alternative, well, it really drives home how much power there is in just knowing what chemical you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a final thought for you to consider. Do you actually know what kind of antifreeze is in that container in your garage right now? Or what might be dripping from your car? That seemingly small piece of information. Well, knowing the answer could literally be the difference between life and death for a pet. Maybe check that label today.